So when I was researching where to go to college, I really turned to YouTube to try to get an insight on other students' experiences, looking for any student that would share what they were thinking about the school that they were attending, if they liked it, if they thought it was worth it. And I particularly was interested in people who transferred to their schools because that was the position I was in. I really was interested in going to the University of Michigan, so I tried looking for as many of those videos as possible, but I just couldn't get enough of them. Like, I wanted to know all the details because this is such a big decision. So I wanted to share my experience as a student who transferred to the University of Michigan, specifically the Stamps School of Art and Design, and my takeaways from that process. For those of you who are still deciding where to go and are wondering if transferring schools is a good idea for you. So, for context, I did pretty well in high school. I had a 3.9 GPA, I think. I don't know. I had a good enough GPA where I thought I could basically get a full ride to the 3 in-state schools I applied to, but that was not the case. After taking the SAT 3 times, I was still 30 points away from getting a full ride, and at that point I decided that I wasn't going to pay a cent towards a school that I didn't really want to go to. And I think that bit of advice is worth writing down. You're going to be paying a lot of money for school. You should go where you want to go, not where other people want you to go, and not just where you think would be the cheapest, because that might not ultimately set you up for the greatest success if you could get into a better school. But what am I saying? You don't really even need to go to college these days. It's really about your work ethic. You can make a lot of good things happen for you if you're willing to put in the time and the work, and maybe you even have rich parents to help you get started. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about transferring and Michigan. So I was at the point where I didn't want to go to any of the in-state schools that I had applied to, and it was too late to apply anywhere else besides community college. And luckily the community college had a program for the top 10% of the graduating class to go for free. So I had a year of college for free that I got to decide where I really wanted to go. And that's when I became super determined to get into Michigan. I had a friend going there and I visited them, and I could tell this was the place for me. I did as much research as I could possibly do. I even used that research as a public speaking class topic because I had spent so much time looking into it that I felt like, why do I need to study another topic for this class? I'm just going to present to this community college group about how wonderful Michigan is. So this is when I started watching the YouTube videos from other students sharing their experience to really solidify that I wanted to go there. And basically a combination of the school's ranking, the programs that it had available, specifically the art program being pretty good, but there's also a plethora of amazing programs to choose there. I knew I'd be making connections to people who were pretty successful in their areas of interest as well. And I was right about this. By the time I was graduating, my closest friends had jobs lined up at places like the World Health Organization, Goldman Sachs, Google, you name it. When I visited the school, there was an overwhelming enthusiasm that I haven't seen pretty much any other school I went to. People had some serious love and pride for Michigan, and that energy was just so contagious. Because the school was pretty competitive to get into, I knew I would be surrounded by people who were not only smart, but really fun. I could go on and on about the reasons that I wanted to go to Michigan, like being from New Jersey, it was pretty close to home, but still distant enough that you were getting a totally new experience with a new state, new city, and even a new culture. The culture of putting ranch dressing on everything. Just kidding, I love ranch on my pizza now. The only thing I didn't love about it was how freezing it was, but I was used to that as a Jersey girl, so I figured a few more years in the cold and then I would move to California, which I did. What I also liked about Michigan was that it was in the same time zone as me, so when I was communicating with people back home, I wasn't dealing with that time difference. So the transfer process. Oh my goodness, you are going to have to fight for this. Get ready. Seriously, get ready. Because no one is going to handle this for you. No one is going to place an acceptance to a new college on your lap and place all the transferred credits on your lap. You really need to be on top of this. From my first day at community college, I had already known that I wanted to go to Michigan, and that's when I started writing my essays. So literally September, October, November, December, January, all 5 months I spent writing those essays, and I worked on them, kept editing them until the final due date on February 1st. I'm saying that as a question mark, but I'm pretty sure it was February 1st. So I did not mess around with these essays. I figured I don't have much in my control. My GPA is what it is. My SAT scores are what they are. My art portfolio is what it is. But I can pour everything I have into these essays to display my passion towards going to this school. So I did just that. I spent so much time, and everyone who knew me at that time in my life probably read my essay at one point, because I was trying to get as many people to give me feedback as possible. Rewind. So back when I visited Michigan, I took a tour of the school and I took a tour within the program that I was interested in, and I met the admissions counselors. I expressed not only interest, but at that point it was probably very clear that I was pretty passionate about going there. I don't know how many times we're gonna say passionate in this video, but if there's one thing I am passionate about, at least at that point in my life, it was Michigan. We're this far in the video and I haven't said go blue yet. I also have a Michigan tattoo. That's the vintage M. I'm sorry. So going to community college is going to be its own video, because that would just take up too much time from people who at this point probably just care about transferring or going to Michigan. So I will briefly say that community college doesn't really set you up to graduate in the 2 years that everyone expects you to get your associates. But that's kind of true for college in general. You kind of have to be on top of taking enough credits from your very first semester in order to graduate at the end of 4 years, if 4 years is your goal. And knowing that I was going to transfer to Michigan, I made sure that every single class on my schedule was something that would transfer to the school. And even after doing that, it didn't work 100%. I think there was a couple classes that weren't totally transferable. But that being said, I beg you, if you know where you want to go and you're at a different school, you should be able to type in the classes you're taking. Okay, now that I'm thinking about this, it's all coming back to me. There was definitely a place where I could type in the classes I was taking to see if they would transfer. But I don't know if that's a Michigan thing or if that is universal. I'm sure most major schools probably have something like that for you, but at the very least, if they don't, you could probably reach out to a guidance counselor of some sort, an admissions counselor, just trying to confirm if your classes will transfer. They'll probably applaud you for being so proactive, and you might even get some bonus points towards your acceptance. So there's a lot of stuff to send to the college you're applying to, like your transcripts, and when you're transferring, you're sending your transcripts from high school and from your new college. When it was about time to hear back from Michigan, probably April, I was getting suspicious of how long it was taking, and so I reached out to them trying to get an update, and that is when they made me aware that they were missing my transcripts from my community college, which I definitely requested, if not in November, then December. And remember, my due date was February, so this gave them a lot of time to submit my transcripts, but they failed to do so, so I had to go to the office, and I did cry because I had done everything in my power. I spent 5 months on my essays, and it was all going to be for nothing because my stupid community college didn't do the one thing I requested from them, which is literally just downloading a PDF and emailing it. I was so upset. I don't want to talk about it. It makes me so upset it makes me so upset because I was on top of it, but I'm sure there have been other people who were not on top of it and got totally screwed over. Luckily, Michigan was super cool about it because clearly I had everything else in on time, which is another tip for you. Don't think just because something didn't go in on time that you're totally screwed. If you explain the situation to people. So then, after all the paperwork was in another month or two, I got an email saying your transfer credits have been accepted to Michigan. And I was like, what the heck does that mean? Does that mean I got in? Somebody tell me. I do not want to get my hopes up. Does this mean I got in? And then I think 30 minutes later I got an actual email that said I got in. But my family was like, hold the phone, Julia. That out-of-state tuition is crazy. So we got to see if you get any financial aid, any grant money, and luckily I got a lot. I got basically enough help that it was still more expensive than going to an in-state school, but it was definitely worth it. This is where it goes back to this decision being so pivotal. It's one of the biggest decisions you make at this point in your life, so you should really figure out where you want to go and what's going to be a really good fit for you. At this point, I had visited, I had done my research, I thought this was the absolute best fit for me, so we made it work. One more thing about grant money. When I realized that I was going to get grant money from Michigan, I shared this information with a student at the community college. He was the most talented artist I have ever met, and he definitely wasn't so passionate about school, but he could take on a new art medium and just become an expert in it within what felt like a week. And so I knew his talent would be coveted at any art school that he would want to go to. And so I shared with him, listen, you can go to whatever art school you want that has an endowment, and they will give you money to go there. If they will give me money, who is not nearly as talented as you, they will definitely give you money. And he contacted me a year later thanking me because he went to the University of Chicago, and he told me he basically got a full ride, and he's gone on to go to Columbia for fine arts. He is super talented. But he thanked me saying, like, thank you so much for making me aware that these schools have grant money to offer, and for making me feel like they will give money to me, or something like that. So I want to share that information with you too. If you're passionate about a program and you don't feel like you have enough money, I would still put yourself out there, communicate that need, communicate that want, and see what these schools can do for you, because they want talented people too. As a transfer student, and specifically as a transfer student coming from community college, I had super duper impostor syndrome. I totally thought I only got in because I transferred, and that if I applied from straight out of high school, I probably wouldn't have got in, and all of these doubts were in my mind. So I felt like I had a lot to prove. And from day one, I really gave my first semester, but every semester, my everything. And I quickly realized that there's a reason I was admitted. I do belong there. My work was often not the top of class, but I was proud to display my work. I was getting good grades on my exams. I was smart enough. I feel so uncomfortable saying this. Oh my god. I realized that being academically successful at Michigan was going to take everything that we were used to as a high school student and as a community college student. You just have to put in the work and the time. You have to listen to the instructions. You have to be prepared for every class that you attend. And I ended with 3.8, so I'm pretty happy. So, I feel so weird like claiming like, yeah, I was successful at Michigan. But I think that number speaks for itself. And this impostor syndrome continued on into every new class I took. So it was like, yeah, I could be successful in the art school, but can I be successful in an LSA class, in a math class, in a science class, in a class meant for graduate students? And every time, I don't know if I got an A every time. I at least got B pluses. I feel so weird saying that I got good grades. I don't know why, because it's the truth. Why do I feel weird about this? Why am I talking like this? Oh my gosh. I'm just trying to tell you that as a transfer student, I felt that pressure. I felt like an imposter, but that just motivated me more and I came out on top. Another difficult thing with transferring is meeting people, because you are a little bit older than all the freshmen, but a lot of the sophomores already have their new friends, or so you think. So I was definitely kind of intimidated going into that situation, but I knew if I just got involved with some activities I was interested in, like snowboarding, yoga, I'm forgetting, that I would quickly make some connections and hopefully build some friendships. And that was true. My first week there, I went to a small group for a crew and I met my best friend. And then she introduced me to her best friend and we all became best friends. And from there, I met so many other people because they weren't transfers, so they had some friendships from the first year. And then I also made friends with other transfers, and those relationships developed because we were all like in this little experience. We all were like, yeah, we deserve to be here. We're gonna work really hard. We have a lot to prove. We're trying to graduate in 4 years too. So as a transfer, you don't have to be afraid that you're not going to make friends, but maybe you have to put yourself out there a little bit more. It might not come as naturally as it would for some freshmen. But you know, I never had that freshman experience at a big college, so who am I to really speak to that? I do want to create a separate video for my experience with the Stamp School of Art and Design, because I feel like there's a lot to share there too. But I will say I'm super, super glad that I chose to go to Michigan and the art school, because I read one time that a lot of macadamia nuts, a lot of classic education is learning about history and just memorizing old information. But in the art school specifically, you're given problems to think creatively through, present your ideas, and then talk through them with the class in a critique. That totally prepared me for whatever job that I was going to take, because at work, you're not really memorizing and then taking tests. You're presented problems regularly and have to think creatively through them. So even though I didn't go on to become a painter or an illustrator or any other classic art profession, I definitely developed skills in the art school that I could take on to what I feel like is lots of different career paths. Another thing I will say about transferring is that even once my credits transferred to Michigan, it was still a battle to graduate in 4 years. I had to be so on top of making sure I was taking all the classes to graduate in time. Pretty much every time I sat down with my admissions counselor, I really emphasized that I wanted to graduate in 4 years, so I wasn't paying for another year of college. So how are we going to make this happen? What classes did I need to take that were somewhat relevant to what I was interested in pursuing? And there was one time where they really wanted me to take a ceramics class when I was interested in video production, and I had to fight them tooth and nail to say that is not going to help me get a job. I need to take a different class. Somehow, then they allowed me to take a class in the film program. They kind of gave me special permission to take a studio class there instead of another studio class through their school. So you just have to be proactive for yourself because no one's going to figure that out for you. Okay. I'm sure there are things that I will wish I had said, but I will try to answer any questions in the comments. I have a special place in my heart for people who want to go to Michigan, transfers, people who went to community college, or any person trying to figure out where they want to go to college. So I would love to help you in any way that I possibly can. If you're interested in hearing more about Stamp School of Art and Design or my community college experience, I will link those videos when they become available. Thanks for watching. Oh, wait. You're telling me I did this whole video in a white shirt instead of a Michigan t-shirt? What the heck was I thinking? Go blue. Alright.